Hey there, Saints. Pastor Dave here with another weekly devotional for you. We've been looking at journeys as we go through this journey of Lent, looking at scripture stories about journeys, and we're going to look at another one in 1 Samuel 17, part of David's journey to become king of Israel, and this is part of the story, the famous story of his battle with Goliath. So David has agreed to fight this giant, and he's about to be sent out into the field for one-on-one combat. Now Saul clothed David with his armor. He put a bronze helmet on his head and clothed him with a coat of mail. And David strapped Saul's sword over the armor, and he tried in vain to walk, for he was not used to this. When David said to Saul, "I cannot walk with these, for I am not used to them," so David removed them. Then he took his staff in his hand and chose 5 smooth stones from the wadi and put them in his shepherd's bag in the pouch. His sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near to David with his shield-bearer in front of him. When the Philistine looked and saw David, he disdained him, for he was only a youth, ruddy and handsome in appearance. And the Philistine said to David, "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" You know, Saints, this is a very well-known story, right? The David and Goliath story is so popular that it's become part of our regular lexicon. We use that phrase to describe kind of a mismatched battle when someone's an obvious underdog going up against a giant. You know, it's a situation we don't expect them to win. I was listening to a TED Talk the other day by Malcolm Gladwell about this story, and he pointed out something that David may not really be the underdog when he chooses a ranged weapon to fight against this gladiator giant. You know, he takes the stones and the sling, which are really better technology than a sword and a shield in this kind of fight. And David, by doing so, really has the advantage. It's interesting that they try to send him out there wearing the king's armor, carrying the king's sword. They try to send him out there to meet the giant head on the giant's terms. And David chooses not to. David chooses the weapons that he's familiar with, the shepherd's staff, the sling, and the stones. And because he chooses to fight on his own terms, he really is in a better, in a superior position. He's able to beat the giant. I wonder, when we think about the giants that we face, when we think about the situations in our own lives where it feels mismatched, it feels like we're up against something we can't possibly deal with, what if we did what David did and stopped trying to face it head on? What if we stopped trying to try to beat that giant using the tried and true methods that other people might think are what we ought to be doing? What if instead we thought about our own strengths, about our own familiarities, or the kinds of skills and tools that we have that are unique to us? Not trying to borrow the king's armor and the king's weapons, but using what comes naturally to us. What if we could actually be more effective in beating those giants in that way? What if, the faith that we claim, the connection that we have with God, the trust that we have in God might be one of those tools that we are not thinking about because the rest of the world doesn't always use that and doesn't recommend that we use it? I don't know. There might be other tools or familiar options for you that you haven't been encouraged to use in your own battles against your own giants. What could those be? And how could that fight change sides if you thought about it from a different perspective? Saints, that's your devotional this week. I hope it's helpful and something worth thinking about. Hope you're doing well and staying healthy. I will be praying for you. I hope you will keep praying for me, and I'll see you again soon. Take care, Saints.